Goma and Konnichiwa. Plus, Yabaseo. We'll hear of the POLIT'AI CHI talking briefly and concisely about the slideshow montage of the video highlights in full coming up. Keith Ellison, I'm pretty sure I did an episode on the channel. Yeah, Maxine thinking she's all that, but she don't realize she's not even that. Pelosi switching bases all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if she came out with like a shaved head one day, wig the next day. This guy, Michael Starr Hopkins. Give Tucker credit, it's taken from Fox News in full, for having, somebody who's left of center on the program to try to present an intelligible argument. And of course Mark Stein. And Ellen. Now, I won't have him on here because my show's so powerful and he's too dangerous. He'll reach too many people. A lot of those gals, and that's how they tend to think, as you saw on the Emmys the other night with Lily Tomlin. Anyway, reason for the polyrest?
I'm one of the people who believes we should give our neighbors sanctuary. And if you ask yourself, what would I do if I was a Gentile in 1941 if my Jewish neighbors were under attack by the Nazis? Would I give them sanctuary? You might be about to find out what you would do. Will you pass that moral?
Democratic politicians start talking like this. Maybe around the time Congresswoman Maxine Waters of Los Angeles became a folk hero on the left. In a recent appearance, Waters explained that the Trump administration isn't simply wrong on the issues, it's a front for the Klan.
I'm cleaning out the White House.
All right. So I can't really add to that. I sort of fuse those two little snippets together. Video highlights in full coming up. Here's I'm down here in the teeny tiny corner like I did with the OMSR, the tournament from 2015. Got this little flicker issue going on down here. But the slideshow you see is representative of the video highlights in full coming up. I'm just not going to comment on it any further except to say, used to respect this woman like Joe Scarborough did, but make us cast that little spell on him. He still does. POLIT'AI CHI? No. And Keith Ellison. It's on the channel. Did a little profile on him, I suspect, from 2-3 years ago. When they were talking sense. The Democrats are losing their collective freaking mind. If I've said it once, I've said it like 12 times recently. Thanks for watching. Those silly DUIs while you're out there. Roll clips.
President Trump's indecision so far over whether to rescind Daca has Democratic leaders in a tailspin. Perhaps none have gone so far as the DNC deputy chairman, Keith Ellison, who made this comparison to Jews in Nazi Germany. Watch.
I'm one of the people who believes we should give our neighbors sanctuary. And if you ask yourself, what would I do if I was a Gentile in 1941 if my Jewish neighbors were under attack by the Nazis? Would I give them sanctuary? You might be about to find out what you would do. Will you pass that moral test or will you fail it?
So Ellison is not only comparing immigrants who have broken laws in the United States to Jews facing persecution during the Holocaust, he's seemingly comparing U.S. law enforcement to Nazi brown shirts. Joining me with his reaction is Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire. Ben, good to see you again tonight. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks.
So what do you think?
Well, I mean, there are about 1 bajillion things wrong with everything that he just said. First of all, Keith Ellison is the last person who should be making Holocaust references, considering that he spent the last 30 years of his life opposing Jews. I mean, he was very close with Nation of Islam founder Louis Farrakhan in the 1990s. He gave a lead-off speech for a guy named Khalid Muhammad, who is so radical that he was thrown out of the Nation of Islam for anti-Semitism. He's tried to back off of that in recent years, but Alan Dershowitz said that if Keith Ellison had been appointed head of the DNC, he would have left the Democratic Party wholesale. Keith Ellison is not the guy to be making this particular reference to begin. If Keith Ellison had been around in 1941, I have my doubts about what he would have done with Jews trying to hide from Nazis. But beyond that, the reference with regard to ICE, that ICE is somehow a Nazi force in enforcing the immigration laws is just absurd. And the idea that people who are here illegally, who have been living in the country in largely freedom, many of their kids are going to public schools, they're taking advantage of public benefits, they have jobs here. The idea that this is the same thing as making legal citizens of your country illegal and then throwing them into concentration camps or gassing them is just beyond the pale. It's insane language from Ellison, but nothing shocking considering who Ellison is.
I mean, unfortunately, it's become all too convenient in this debate to sort of go directly to the Nazi argument. The idea that, anyone who's conservative is sort of somewhere on that spectrum that is espoused by some people and appears to be used as sort of a tangential argument here by Keith Ellison, really puts us in a place, that goes back to what we were talking about in the last segment, where everything is so fired up, so emotional, that we have little opportunity to actually have a good, solid exchange of ideas that doesn't go to that place.
Yeah, I mean, on the internet, it's called Godwin's Law, the idea that the first person to invoke the Nazis loses the argument. And in this particular case, I think this is a pretty good example of it. I mean, Keith Ellison could make a decent argument in favor of Daca. I think he would have to make a stronger argument against President Trump, who apparently wants to re-enshrine Daca with the help of Congress. But again, comparing our law enforcement officers at ICE to Nazis is about the most insulting thing that I've heard since, the senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, did the same thing with regard to our soldiers a few years back. So it seems like certain Democrats from the Midwest sometimes have problems with these sorts of linguistic analogs.
Ben Shapiro, thank you very much, Ben.
So if you think we ought to enforce the immigration laws Congress itself passed, Congressman Ellison believes you're evil. When did Democratic politicians start talking like this? Maybe around the time Congresswoman Maxine Waters of Los Angeles became a folk hero on the left. In a recent appearance, Waters explained that the Trump administration isn't simply wrong on the issues, it's a front for the Klan.
I'm cleaning out the White House. This person who does not respect you, this dishonorable human being who cheats everybody, this dishonorable human being who will lie at the drop of a hat, this dishonorable human being who have the alt-right and the KKK and everybody else inside his cabinet. I'm going to say impeach 45 every day. Impeach 45 every day.
That's not political rhetoric, it's a war cry. It's an incitement to hysteria and maybe worse. If you really thought the Ku Klux Klan controlled the White House, what would you do? What wouldn't you do? We're the adults in the Democratic Party. It used to be they were in leadership, but not anymore. Nancy Pelosi is the most powerful Democrat in the House of Representatives. She was once Speaker, you'll remember. She may soon be again. Pelosi isn't just tolerant of illegal immigration. She's now explicitly encouraging it. Watch this.
The list goes on and on about how we want to advance and protect the Dreamers until we can pass the bill. Their families did a great thing for our country, bring these kids here who are working, who are in the military, who are in school, who are a brilliant part of our future.
Breaking our laws is now a great thing, says one of our country's chief lawmakers. People who ignore the legislation Congress writes should be congratulated for it, says one of Congress's top leaders. That's more than perverse. This is what it looks like when the people in charge of a country decide to destroy it. Their motive is always the same: political power. They lost it, they want it back, even if it means hurting the people they are sworn to protect. Democrats alienated the middle of the country during the Obama years, but they have no plans to convince those voters to return. Instead, they plan to replace them with new and more reliable voters from abroad and damn the consequences for the rest of us. That's why they're far more upset about Daca than they are about the opioid crisis. It's why they care more about preventing a border wall than they do about raising the wages of American workers. It's not complicated. What's amazing is that they're now saying it out loud. Michael Starr Hopkins is a Democratic attorney, a contributor to The Hill and the Huffington Post, and he joins us tonight from New York. Michael, thanks a lot for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tucker.
So it seems like kind of a profound moment where you have the chief
contributor to The Hill? Oh, I got to look into that.
Of one of the two main political parties explicitly encouraging people, congratulating them for breaking the law.
No, that's not what Nancy Pelosi was doing.
Well, she just said it. We just ran the tape. She said what you did was a great thing by breaking the law.
No, she wasn't saying by breaking the law you were doing a great thing. She was saying that by taking a dangerous journey, by trying to make sure that you made the life of your children better, improving the life and the plot of your family, that's an honorable thing to do.
Oh, that's such a noble
Americans
thing.
who came to this
Parsing words when it's
didn't come before 1920, or rather came before 1920, when there weren't immigration laws that are codified like they are now.
Okay, but it's not 1920, it's 2017, and there are immigration laws passed by the Congress over which she presides, and she's congratulating people for breaking a law that her body passed. I mean, you could make the same case. Someone robs a liquor store and you say, boy, you took a lot of risks. There was a security guard there. You had to drive the getaway car at high speed. You still break, and that may all be true, but you still broke a law. And so for a lawmaker to encourage people to do that, why wouldn't she say, as all politicians have until this moment, look, illegal immigration is wrong. You shouldn't break the law to get here. But, you're hardworking people or whatever. But she doesn't even say that. The party doesn't even say that anymore. They're openly encouraging it.
Clip of what she said.
Watch the whole thing. When was the last time? Okay, but I did watch it, and she didn't say that. And you're seeing again and again, I can spend a whole hour playing tape for you, Democrats applauding people for breaking immigration law.
That's not what they're applauding. Democrats are not applauding people for breaking the law. What we're saying is this is a country of immigrants. We are all here because someone came from somewhere else. And that the idea that people would risk their lives for a better life is at the essence of what we are as a people, at the essence
so
of
that's
our
more important. So, but again, what about the law? I mean, I'm not just being, look, it's not just me. I'm just a talk show host. This is a lawmaker. This is someone whose whole job
right now we're debating the law. We're debating the DREAM Act and how we can go about fixing these laws. Because right now our system is broken, and I think that that's
but you could say that. Oh, okay, but I think everyone agrees our tax code is broken. And all of us have opinions about the ways in which it's broken. How would you feel if a member of Congress got up and said to people who are facing charges for tax evasion, you did a great thing. I support what you did. It was brave what you did. You wanted to feed your family, so you didn't pay those taxes. Wouldn't you say, well, wait, hold on a minute. Our tax code's rotten, but like you can't, my point, it's not a false equivalency.
It's a financial law versus someone endangering their life for their family, those are two different things.
Oh, really? Because I have a family, and I can promise you that financial, economic concerns are the main concerns. How am I going to feed these people? How am I going to pay for this house? They got to go to school. You want to go to summer camp? It's expensive. Like, these are the core questions people face, and they revolve around the tax code. These are American citizens. Wouldn't you say, I know I would say, if I saw the Speaker of the House say, you know what, if you don't like the tax laws, just ignore them. I would say, whoa, the system's going to fall apart if you do that. You don't see this at all?
But what we're doing here is focusing on 10 seconds of Nancy Pelosi's comments today, instead of focusing on the grander issue, which is
another little bit, some part of the whole,
how are we going to ensure that these 800,000 people are brought into the American experience, brought out of the shadows?
Yeah, well, just to go back to me being a foreigner, Tucker, I'm a legal immigrant, which means I'm a non-dreamer, which means nobody sentimentalizes me. I listened to that rhapsody that Michael was doing about these people taking their children on a brave journey, struggling across to give them a bed. Nobody ever says that about me and my kids. We're the non-dreamers. Because we did the boring thing and filled in the paperwork. And what that does, that kind of language, is it actually prevents politics. Politics is about public policy. When you first sentimentalize it, and then you take it to the next stage, as Keith Ellison does, where if you disagree on a rather boring public policy point, you're a Nazi. If you take it to the level that these other Democrats do, where we've just heard someone explain that there are Klansmen now in the cabinet. This is absurd. And also, it's decadent. During the Bush years, college professors in liberal latte towns drove around with bumper stickers saying, Bush scares me. And then they parked the car that says, Bush scares me, and they got out of the little college espresso house and they had a soy macchiato and watched the world go by. Nobody in Saddam Hussein's Iraq was driving around with a bumper sticker saying, Saddam scares me. This is a form of decadence that is actually insulting to people who live in uncivilized societies.
It's the banality of symbolic protest by our privileged huge class, for sure. So there was an interesting moment, I thought, on the Ellen show. Haven't watched a lot of Ellen, but she was asked, essentially, would you have Donald Trump on your show? And here's what she said.
Would you have him on your show? Definitely. I mean, I would not say no to the sitting president of the United States. Really? Absolutely not. Would you? Yeah. You would? Yeah. I can't have someone that I feel is not only dangerous for the country, for me personally as a gay woman, but as to the world.
I guess what got me about this, well, look, she doesn't have to like Trump, I get it, but the idea that going on her show would make him the real president for the first time ever, and that she fears that suggests a kind of megalomania that, like, I guess is normal there.
Yeah, and for a start, the investment in this narrative is absurd. Trump is no threat to her, quote, as a gay woman, unquote.
That's true.
He's lived in New York all his life. He doesn't care about gays.